this is a great opportunity to put out an original post, a poll based on a topic, and then asking people to vote. It's really a powerful way to get engagement without being spammy, right? So if it's I'd love your one-click vote on a trending poll on a topic specific to your industry.
Welcome to the Making Sales Social podcast, featuring the top voices in sales, marketing, and business. Join Bryn Tillman, Stan Robinson Jr., and me, Bob Woods, as we each bring you the best tips and strategies our guests are teaching their clients so you can leverage them for your own virtual and social selling. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everyone. It's time for what we're all waiting for, Making Sales Social Live, coming to you live from the Social Sales Link virtual studios and brought to you by AskSSL.ai. I'm Bob Woods, and I'm joined by Bryn Tillman and Stan Robinson Jr. How y'all doing today?
Howdy.
Eagles won!
Fabulous.
Eagles, yeah.
Day! Fly, Eagles fly.
Bryn is flying high, but she did not, climb up any poles or anything like that.
No, because they're all greased. You can't climb
Yeah,
up.
they're all greased. So yeah, absolutely. So so with that, let's get into today's topic, which is has to do with influencing. So when you hear the phrase social media influencer, we all have our visions of what that type of person is. So I'm just going to leave that up to your imagination about what that means to you. A micro influencer, however, is someone who is way different than that. We want you to specifically become a micro influencer, not that typical social media influencer. And we especially want to do that on LinkedIn. So before we get into things, I'm just curious, what is a micro influencer to you all in the way that we like to think of one?
So it's interesting because ultimately what you're talking about is about finding your niche and having a professional voice in that niche to be the go-to person. So ultimately, I actually believe, when we're looking at being a micro influencer, it's very similar to a professional influencer. So I'd love to hear your perspective because we have different ones, which is great. I actually think it is about you being the go-to person on a topic, right. You being the subject matter expert and thought leader on a topic. So a micro influencer is finding kind of your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and socially surrounding them with value and insights and influencing the way that they think about the way they're doing business today.
Stan?
We're in agreement on that. I think in terms of a very specific niche, an ICP, and then you're one of the resources, if not the first resource that they turn to for relevant, valuable information that serves their needs. So you're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Absolutely.
You're serving a very specific target
Absolutely.
audience.
And I think that's probably, there are many differentiators between the typical social media influencer and the, more business or professional oriented micro influencer that we're talking about here. And I think that y'all really, really nailed all of those just in terms of, the social media influencers, they are going after a much bigger audience, one that's probably more demographic driven, like 18 to 24-year-old women or something along those lines, essentially. And they're developing content to go after that audience, which is still a defined audience, but our audience in micro influencing is definitely much more professional, much more targeted in in terms of who we're trying to reach out to, and in terms of actually trying to help them with our content, which what Bryn alluded to. So before we get into the 5 steps that you should take, it's important that you go into this with 2 elements that we've kind of already talked about, but I just want to bring them to the forefront so that y'all know what to do ahead of time. So number 1 is create a list of your ideal clients. So this is where the targeting really starts coming in. And then number 2, listening, and this has to do with social listening. Listen to what your ideal clients care about so that you can put out the type of content that they want to hear, not that the stuff that you want to talk about, because I guarantee you, those are 2 different things. So you really need to have the type of content out there where they can learn about the problems and the situations that they face in their business. And then so that you can, hopefully by the content that you start putting out, to really get people thinking differently about what it is they're doing so that they'll want to ultimately have a call or establish some type of relationship with you.
So do we want to start with number 1 and talk about?
We'll start with number 1.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if we were moving through. Great.
We are moving through. So the 5 steps are, the first one, we talk about this all the time, about anything that you do in LinkedIn. It's especially important here. Optimizing your LinkedIn profile to be value centric. So in other words, we're transforming it from a resume to a resource. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the audience that you're reaching and how you help them, essentially. Bryn?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is obviously an area that is vital in ensuring that your thought leadership and your subject matter expertise is highlighted. And one of the things Bob says all the time is, rather than telling them how you can help them, simply help them. And the profile is a really good place to do this, right? This is really an opportunity where you're not just telling them. There is a point where you do have to tell them what you do, but you want to earn the right to get to that point. And you do that through content and value and insights. So when you start positioning your headline to resonate with your buyer and create enough curiosity that they want to keep reading, when they start to read, this is when you start to become that micro influencer, right? You've captured the right people, you've captured their interest. Now you are bringing value in a way that brings them closer and closer to seeing you as that subject matter expert, as that micro influencer. So making sure that you're positioning your profile in a way that isn't all resume and isn't all pitch, but actually as a resource will help you to earn that title of micro influencer.
Well said. And you can use your about section, your featured section to, as Bob always says, actually help people. So rather than talking about how we help people, actually give people actionable advice that they can use as soon as they finish reading.
Yeah, so one example that I like to cite, and this is where general influencers can be the same as us, is think about that person who does like makeup tutorials. They are showing you exactly what to do. That is actually helping you. So if you can translate that to the actual content that you put out, that's probably one way where general social media influencers can be the same or similar to what we're doing. So with that, let's go on to number 2. And number 2 is, it's almost like an A and B, but it's really not, because it has the same goal. So both curating and then creating content, which are 2 kind of separate things, but the goal is the same. You are doing this for your audience, not just any content, though, content that teaches us something new, something that they may not have known about their problems or situations before, so that, again, you're opening up their minds and they're willing to learn something new from you and something that you are trying to help them with, essentially, by actually helping them.
Yeah. So when you do the research to find something new, it helps you stand out from everyone else. You find something that's new that they can use that may get them ideally thinking differently about their situation. So when you can create an aha moment for them, that's the ideal scenario.
Yep. The aha is what Bryn
For
likes to talk
any
about.
thoughts you had? Yes.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
content is critical when it comes to ultimately attracting and engaging your ICP, your ideal customer profile. I think curating content is great. We want to make sure that we're curating content that our prospects care about, not just content that we want to share, right? That's really important. What they engage on is the kind of content that we want to curate, including now our original content also cannot be pitching our products and services. We need to create content that will start conversations. The idea is not to sell them from our content, it's to start trust-based conversations.
100%, 100%. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is, you could be pumping out all this great content and everything, but if nobody's listening, if nobody's watching, if nobody's reading, it doesn't matter. So you need to help people discover your content. And there are ways to do that. That doesn't necessarily depend on LinkedIn's algorithm as well, which is becoming more and more of a thing on LinkedIn. So there are two ways to do it. I'll let you guys take the specifics on this. Number one is engaging with other people's content. So you actually going out to other people's content and commenting on what they are publishing. And number two, sending your own content to others' inboxes without spamming them, obviously. So, sending the content that you think will be truly beneficial to them in whatever it is that they're trying to do in their business.
I'm a big fan of polls for this. This is a great opportunity to put out an original post, a poll based on a topic, and then asking people to vote. It's really a powerful way to get engagement without being spammy, right? So if it's, I'd love your one-click vote on a trending poll on a topic specific to your industry, and I'm happy to share the insights, once the poll closes and where you might have benchmarked to your peers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty cool.
Cool stuff.
Yep. And if you're a Sales Navigator user, you can search for activity in the past 30 days and identify people who may have posts that you can engage on and tag them. So it just saves you some time if you have that tool. Otherwise, you can, on free LinkedIn, just go to someone's profile and check out their activity, see if there's anything where you can add to the discussion.
Absolutely. And that is one of there are many things that I absolutely love about Sales Navigator. Stan just hit one of the biggies is that the past 30 days thing. So yeah, all of that is fantastic. So let's talk about number 4. So number 4 is where we go to other influencers, specifically macro influencers, and leveraging them. And these are the macro influencers who have voices in your industry, your vertical, however you define that in whatever it is you do. And don't ask me to do that for you because there are so many different ways and so many different things about that. But that basically involves finding influencers and then engaging with your ideal clients in the comments sections of those influencers. Sorry, I've got something in my throat, which is huge because again, you want to draw these people to you and to your content. LinkedIn is all about networking. So, view this as Bren likes to say, and I'll just let her take it from here, kind of like imagine the macro influencer as someone who is speaking at a conference and you are talking with someone in the audience about what the macro influencer is talking about on stage, except this time it's actually in a LinkedIn post, Bren.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly the way I like to look at it, is your macro influencer. So a perfect example is if you look at these the live streaming. So on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern, Meredith Elliott Powell and Mark Hunter run a live podcast. There's an enormous amount of activity in the comments. I'm commenting. Sometimes I'm mentioned in the live stream if the comment is relevant. But I have built a large network of people that watch that religiously. Well, those are the same people that I want to attract to listen to our podcast and consume our content. So I leverage their audience in order to continue to grow my audience. And so in thank you, everyone go Sales Logic podcast with Mark Hunter and Meredith Elliott Powell. Go subscribe because I want to give back, and they're awesome. But that's a perfect example of macro influencers that are attracting the people that I would like to attract. So to Bob's point, I love this idea of, go find these folks they may not be, and they shouldn't really be your competitor, because then it feels a little like you're poaching, but it should be someone in a parallel vertical, or that selling to the same client that you're selling to, but is not competing with you. And those are absolutely phenomenal people to align with, both with their content and with their network.
Yep. And of course, you can always simply share the posts of the influencers, the big influencers, and of course, tag them. But share the posts with their posts with your insights.
Yep, that's another great thing to do. That actually goes back to point number 2, which I was thinking of, but I thought, number 4 is coming up. We'll just handle that with number 4. But a lot of these can actually interoperate with one another, and that one's probably the biggest way that it can be done. So the last one, which is something that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to, just social in general, and especially with LinkedIn, is setting metrics that matter. So, you want to talk about KPIs and stuff like that. And everybody's always like, well, how do we do that? And everything else. You can set metrics that can be tracked so that you can see the performance of not only the posts, but conversions and things like that as well. And this isn't about views alone, because views on LinkedIn can be very misleading. This is about actual interactions. So you're talking about, like likes and comments and replies to comments and things like that. So there is one important metric that I would like to bring out, and that's measuring your content value through the sales conversations started. So, hey, I had I commented on this person, we conversed for a little while, and now we're going to have a sales conversation. You put one tick or whatever in that column. And then if it goes through to a close, you can actually get direct ROI from that as well. So you should definitely be tracking metrics off of everything that you're doing, just like everything else that we do in sales that we love to track to see how we're doing. It's the same type of thing, except you can also do this when you become a micro influencer, because guess what? Now you've listened to all this stuff, you're now a micro influencer.
You have the tools you need for sure. So let's talk about those KPIs. I think it's really important to measure the right things. So lots of people can measure there's a ton of data. There's no shortage of data, but we want to make sure that we're looking at the right things. And we can actually break this down, and I'm just going to throw out some ideas. Mm-hmm. So it could be, how many macro influencer pieces of content am I engaging every week? Maybe I have a goal and I want to engage one a day. So now I can say, am I engaging one a day? And then what do I want from that engagement? Have I connected with 2 new people a day from the comment section that meet my ICP? Then have I converted those 2 new people a day to vote on a poll? And then I've converted the people that voted on a poll to download an ebook. And then if I converted that ebook into a conversation, and lastly, that conversation to a closed deal, those are productive. Bob mentioned if you're doing views as a KPI, that's not really a productive KPI. It's not actionable. The KPIs that I like to measure, although the final KPI is the amount of business, that is a results goal. I really like to measure the activity goals. Am I meeting my activity goals? If I don't meet my final results goal, then I know that the activity was the wrong amount or the wrong things to do. So I'm going to just back up from this for a moment, and kind of the big picture is all of the KPIs that you should be measuring, you should be able to influence directly.
Yeah.
Don't spend too much time measuring what you can't control. However, you want to make sure that all the things that you're measuring lead to your final results goal. Or if it doesn't, we have to look at, are we doing the right activity? And so all that is really where I feel like so many sales folks can miss the mark, because if you're measuring things you can't control, then you don't know what to tweak and what to do differently. And so you become a victim of your KPIs instead of your KPIs working for you.
100% there. Metrics that matter is what we're calling that. And yeah, and that absolutely hits the mark there. Anything to add onto that, Stan? Because otherwise we're going to wrap up.
No, just great nuggets there. Measure the things that you can control so that you don't become a victim of KPIs that really don't do anything for you.
Yeah. I mean, that can really put salespeople into a spin.
Yeah. That's spiral almost. Yeah.
Spiral. That's the word, not a spin, a spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. As the spiral, never mind. I can't even say that. Thanks everyone for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live, sponsored by AskSSL.ai. If you're with us live on LinkedIn or YouTube right now, we do this every week, so keep an eye out for our live sessions. Listening to us on our podcast, if you haven't subscribed or follow already, we suggest that you do so that you'll be able to access all of our previous shows and be alerted to when new ones drop. And, like or comment as well. We like those as well. We do 2 shows weekly, this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more other areas. If you'd like more info on our podcast, it's at socialsaleslink.com/podcast. So when you are out and about this week and any week and every week, be sure that you're making your sales
social.
We got it down. We got that down. Nailed it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day, great week, great forever. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Don't miss an episode. Visit socialsaleslink.com/podcast. Leave a review down below. Tell us what you think, what you learned, and what you want to hear from us next. Register for free resources at linkedinlibrary.com. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.